Yo, what's going on, guys? So today I wanted to break down how I made my top song on Spotify right now. This is how Everybody Dies. All right, so starting off with the intro here, we got a couple melodies going. This is a massive preset, pretty sure. Yep, this is just a straight preset. And then this one, another massive preset, kind of hidden in the background. And then we got some atmosphere. I use this in almost every track. I don't know, it's just kind of a signature sound that I do now. Okay, and then this, we have a clap build going. It just builds up a little bit, super simple. Really the goal with this track was to make it as simple but unique and interesting as possible. I just wanted to use a very minimum amount of sounds to build this like unique structure of a song. Some of the things that I did in this, I was just like trying and thought it was a cool idea and just stuck with it. Next we have this. And then I added a shaker in here, which is just like another cool element I like to add. What I did at the end is kind of sped it up. So I literally just dragged it with Complex Pro on. Actually, I just dragged it with Beats on. So it just kind of adds like a little flow. Then we got this little atmosphere loop thing I found. And then some more atmosphere riser stuff. So we got that. We got this. We got this. We got this. What else we got? Yeah, risers are very important. So make sure you're using risers. I pretty much use this riser in every song. It's just like another one of the signature things that I do, I guess. Swell right there, another riser. All right, and then we're getting into some of the vocal elements. So that was a laugh that I'm pretty sure I stretched way out and got that. So I wouldn't consider that a riser, but it's just like another element. And then we got this. I took two separate laughs because I knew that I wanted a laugh before the drop came in, or at least before the pre-drop vocal came in. I found that first one and I stretched it out and I liked the sound of it, so I kept it, and then I added a second laugh to obviously like do the thing that I was planning on doing. So that's kind of how I got to this. And then we'll go down to some more elements. This is how everybody dies. So that comes in. This is layered with this. So we got the high, we got the lower, or I guess like just a regular pitch version. This is a sample from AKV. We got a couple chants going here. That's the same one. And then this is part of the build as well. This is just being filtered in with auto filter. I'm gonna go through the processing in a little bit. Now we'll get into the fun stuff. All right, so I'll show you guys what I did with the fake out here. I pretty much just took one layer of the basses and copied the flow over, so it's a little more simplified with the processing. I actually made this track because I wanted to try auto shift. This is when auto shift finally released on Ableton, so I was like, oh, I gotta try this out. So the main sound is coming from auto shift, so I'll play it. Now it's with it off. I would recommend using things not for their purpose, and you'll get some cool stuff out of it. So literally all I did, I changed it to high, I put the pitch all the way up, formant all the way up, and I changed it to the key, and I just kept the scale at custom. And I like the way it sounded, so I just left it, moved on to the next thing, which is an OTT. I literally just moved these two bars up, put it at 100, which is set to automatically, and then dragged the time all the way to 1,000. Then we got Mishby on it, which I'm pretty sure is automated to shut off once the drop comes in. Everything on Mishby is off. If you have not used Mishby before, I would definitely recommend getting it because it's amazing. You can steal it, so you can get it for free, or if you want to support Freak Show Industries, you can pay 40 bucks and get it for your entire lifespan. And then we got comb filter. This is adding a little bit of width. If you don't know the secret sauce, it is super helpful. So you basically throw a kilohertz comb filter on a sound you want more width from. You just put it to stereo and move the hertz around until you think it sounds good. That's really it. Sometimes I'm at 130 hertz, sometimes I'm at 260 hertz. It just depends on the sound and what you like. Most of the time I'm sitting at 260 hertz and it gives me a really solid width. If you think it is adding too much width to your bass, you can just turn the mix down a little bit, and you're good. Another Freak Show Industries plugin, this is Dumpsterfire. I can't really explain what this does really well, so I would just recommend getting it for yourself and trying it out, honestly. Auto filter, a EQ that is cutting 140 in the mono, and then in the stereo, it is doing a dip at 178, going all the way down to touching 100 for the side, because I didn't want it to be super wide, because the comb filter does kind of add a lot of width to it for sure. And then again, I'm bringing down the width for this fake out because I wanted the drop to come in and everything opens up. It just kind of gives off this illusion that it's getting louder. That's a really good way to make your fake outs sound a lot different than the drops, and it gives you a really big impact when the drop comes in. So I'm just gonna go ahead and break down the bass group right now, and then I'm gonna go to the drums. The less things that you use in your songs, the cleaner and louder it can be. So don't go crazy stacking a bunch of sounds together because it's gonna sound like crap. Keep it simple. Every single sound that you pick for your song should have a meaning behind it. First, off the rip, this is insanely unique. This is the only track that I've ever not sidechained on, and it was only because of how weird the drop is and how directionalized it is. That's the only word I can think of that kind of describes what I'm talking about, but it's so oddly spaced out that the kick really pushed through the drop. When I turn it on, I'll show you guys the difference. This is with no sidechain. And then this is with sidechain. Now, Chain Shaper, if you've never used it, I would recommend it. I think it's like 10 bucks. Just saves so much time when you're sidechaining. It automatically reads the waveform and it'll duck the audio whenever that waveform appears. It would just cut out too much space. And I think it was because of how odd the drop is. It just didn't sound good at all. So I'll play it right now. So you can kind of disregard the clap. The reason that it's doing that dip is because there's reverb on the clap and it's reading the reverb as an audio form and it's ducking the sound. But the kick, it just kind of ducked too much. I mean, yeah, I could tuck this in, but I don't know, I just didn't do it. And that was the first time doing it. So I would recommend sidechaining. You're obviously gonna get a lot cleaner of a sound, but honestly, just go with your gut. I mean, this is dubstep. It's not an incredibly amazing song or anything. I just made what I wanna make. Next, we have a group saturator. 60% soft sine, nothing crazy about that, just makes it a little bit louder, adds a little bit of distortion. A deviate reverb, this basically just adds a high-end reverb on the entire drop. I don't use this as much anymore. It is a really cool trick. If you want, just copy the settings to your reverb and save it. It is super useful if you want to add some more space to your drops. Next, we got Mishby. Everything is off besides distortion. Distortion is distorting, and it makes the sub clash with the basses, and it gives it that distortion sound everyone's looking for. So if you're trying to get that distortion sound out of your basses and your sub, just get Mishby, shut everything off, and adjust the distortion. Most of the time, you don't even have to touch anything at all. Next, sub remover. It's basically just an EQ cut at 100 hertz. That's it, fresh air. This is free. If you guys don't have this, 100% get it. It is incredible. I just have it set to 27 on the mids, 27 on the highs. This is a very well-known plugin, so I would be surprised if you don't have it, but if you don't have it, definitely get it and just play around with it. That's the best way you're going to learn. And then this is Bass Clef's Easy Washout Rack. This is a goated washout rack, just a goated rack in general. This is just a really good way to transition out of your drops and stuff. So if we kind of go to this section here where I used it, that part where it delays and gets like has like that big reverb blowout, that is Bass Clef's washout rack. So definitely get that. I'm pretty sure you can just do a quick Google search and you'll find it. Auto filter. Next we have a reverb throw rack. So this is pretty much just putting reverb on certain sections. Instead of using a riser, I'll use reverb. Again, I'm pretty sure if you just search it, you'll probably find it somewhere. And then ozone imager, just to make sure that the width is correct. Going through each bass here, we kind of already went through this one. The Mishby is turned off now. It's kind of unnecessary. It doesn't need to be that distorted. Dumpsterfire, I'm pretty sure that was just part of one section of the drop, and then the width is back on to 100 for the drop coming in. Next is this guy. This one I have Dumpsterfire on. It's giving it that odd sound, so. And then auto shift again. And that is pretty much it. It is 2 decibels lower, and I'm pretty sure that it is the same thing. Yeah, it's basically just me duplicating this track and changing a couple things to add that other layer to it. The last layer is just stabs, and kind of the same deal. This doesn't have anything on it, no auto shift. It is the sample cut down to just this sound here. If I play out the whole thing, it's just like a little stab, pretty much. It has OTT, actually this is just for the sound, it's not actually for width, so I didn't turn the stereo on. You can hear the sound difference with that. A little adjustment on the stereo here, so on the mono, just cut out all of the sub bass, and then here, stereo, I have a boost at about 5K, going up 8 dB, so I decided to do that because before it sounded like this. Now it sounds like this. Yeah, and then I just converted it to mono, so I don't really think it did anything, to be honest. So yeah, that's brilliant. And then this, I don't know. Yeah, so this was a layer I was going to add, and then I didn't like it because I wanted to keep it simple. So if we listen to it with it. I don't know, I just decided that I wanted to keep it simple, so I left that out. This is a Initiate, shout out Initiate, sample boosted by 8 dB, set to Complex Pro, little frequency shifter, ring mod on that. And then we got Rift, which is probably just a preset, yes, soft jet stream. And then delay and a EQ cut at 140 again. You don't want any basses pushing out sub because you don't want two subs playing at the same time ever. So I always use a separate sub because I think that is the cleanest way to do it, but that's just how I do it. It's how I produce, and you don't want to stack subs again ever. So just completely stay away from that. Next, we have just all the background elements. These are just the chants and whatnot. I made a group with reverb, utility, and then a saturator at a medium curve to get them a little bit louder. All right, so moving on to the sub, I use Vital to make my sub. Super simple. Sine wave, level all the way up, white noise. This is being automated by the envelope, and then LFO1 and LFO2 are controlling the pitch of the sine wave. LFO1 is controlling the very beginning pitch, so it kind of gives like a stabbiness to the sub, however you want to explain it. LFO2 is giving it a downward motion after the beginning of the sub is played. So if you listen for it, rather than it just being a stagnant note, it's being brought down by LFO2. The way that I did this is I just went over to the matrix, LFO2, turned bipolar on, and set the amount to 6. And that's it. Basically just kind of like flips the table, and the top is 0, the bottom is however you have it set, so the bottom would be 6. Nothing crazy about this. Kick tight, utility at mono in DC, and then in OTT, which I don't normally use, but I just did because I thought it sounded good with this. Shut off the highs and the mids, and the low, I just kind of dragged this bar up to 47.8 millisecond. Like all that information, you can just copy it if you want. The amount set to 40. Again, that's not what I do for every single sub. I don't even think I do that anymore. I made this a couple months ago, so I try to always adjust my workflow and stuff like that. Another huge element to the sub is Mishby. Like honestly, if I took Mishby off right now, it's going to completely change how the sub sounds. I'll play it without Mishby on. So there's barely any distortion in that sub right now, but I go ahead and turn Mishby on. That has the distortion brought up a little bit. Even if it's at 0, it's still gonna add a good amount of distortion to the sub. So yeah, bro, Mishby is secret sauce, for real. So we have a kick. I basically always use E-Craze kicks because I just think they're super clean and I don't have to go crazy like doing all this extra processing. If you are going ham processing your drums after somebody spent so long processing the drums that you are processing, then you are processing how to waste your time. Dead ass, stop processing your drums unless you're making them from scratch. So if you're dragging samples into Ableton and you need to process them, pick some new freaking samples because you're just straight up wasting your time. We got a kick. This is Tomb by E-Craze. Definitely get these freaking samples, drums, whatever. Just look up E-Craze drum pack and you'll find it. I mean, just buy them all. And then I have a high shelf, and then I put a utility on it to set it to mono, just because I think it sounds way cleaner when the kick is just fully mono. Then I have it boosted by 2 dB. If I have to bring it up over 2 dB, then I know something's messed up, and it's either the mix or the sample just doesn't fit what the drop is, like how loud the drop is. I just go and pick a new sample, and most of the time it works fine. Or it could be the sidechain. All right, moving on to the clap. All I really did was put an EQ on it in reverb. I have this thing going on here. You can add this. I don't really know what the technical name is, but you can add this, and it will completely change the sound of the clap. So right now it sounds like this. I can just drag this up here. New clap right here. New clap right here. New clap. You can just make some really cool claps like super quickly by doing that. And then reverb, it adds reverb to the clap. All right, and then for the group, kick, clap, and this other clap called Clorp, I put an OTT on it, bring it up 11 dB, the time set to 240, and the amount set to 10%. It really just makes everything sound very balanced, and I think it's super clean, so that's also some secret sauce right there. Next, hats. Super basic. I always add this fade in because I hate the transient of hi-hats. I just don't like it. That's my own personal preference, so I just completely take it out and add this. Kind of just sounds like a shaker, to be honest, and then I have it cut at 445 hertz. Then we got this one, and then we got this one, and that's it. Just basic drums. These two are shut off. We got this guy, and this guy, and that's it. If you guys like this video and want more breakdowns of other songs that I've released, let me know. Leave them in the comments down below. But other than that, I'm going to start making a new song with something else.